Hello, dears. Okay, since we got done with the mummy, I figured we would do another, maybe like another zombie doll or an undead doll. I have this really ugly baby doll. It's called a Syndee doll, Syndee. And apparently it was a big doll in the, I don't know, maybe early 80s, mid 80s. She has no real value that I could find. You can still buy like vintage, and I mean vintage, sewing patterns for her if you want to make some really funky looking clothes. Somebody at some point attempted to glue hair onto her head there, and also on the back there. So I'm not going to bother trying to get that off. I'm just going to get the hair, as much of the hair off as I can. And then the rest of the glue stuff I'm just going to use in the zombie process. Because this is one ugly doll. I mean, she is not attractive. So right now we're doing the same process we always start out with, but I wanted to show you because she was especially dirty. So I've got my scruffy brush, I've got the 91% alcohol, and I am like really scrubbing her eyeballs. Let me tip you down so you can watch. I mean, it's the same thing you've seen already before many times, but at least this way you'll be able to find a doll in a resale shop that you think is beyond redemption and think, no, I can work with that. You can work with any doll you want. You can even do Barbie dolls. I know of artists that do nothing but Barbie dolls. They turn Barbie dolls into things. I admire that because I can't, as you know, I cannot see very well. So the Barbie dolls are a little too small for my scale for me to be able to see. So, you know, you just scrub the dirt, wipe it off. I just want a clean base for the matte medium to stick to. That's all I care about right now. I don't care if all the dirt comes off because I'm painting her anyway. But we're going to paint her. And we're going to do the best we can with what we've got to work with. I know this light is probably throwing a lot of glare, and I can't help it. I have to have some kind of light. And this light, I think, is way too much. Let's try this light instead of this light. Maybe is that better? No, now you can't see nothing. You guys, I do not know what I'm going to do with you. Maybe that'll work. Maybe. Yeah, that's a little better. I keep trying. But now when you're scrubbing on these dolls, and if the dirt's not coming off, don't stress about it. Like I said, the only time you're going to worry about that is if you're trying to restore the doll to its original condition, and I am not doing that. I am also going to be doing a Native American legend, Scaramouche, I think it's called. Scaramouche. I don't know. I'll have to look it up and see. It's a witch. And I have the doll already prepped and everything, but that's going to be some slight clay work that I have to do. And I mean, I don't mind doing that on camera. It doesn't bother me, but it just takes a while. I mean, I guess I could do it and then just speed through it. But her legs, this doll's legs were covered almost completely. So I'm not too concerned about getting the legs totally clean because they're already pretty clean. Her legs were covered, just nothing else was. And you can really see a tone difference when you look at where she was covered versus not. So she was not stored properly to begin with. I'm using the alcohol because it evaporates the fastest. And I use 91% because it evaporates faster than 70%. and it seems to clean better for me. So, you know, try what works for you and go with that. Don't just take my word for it. Try everything. I am not the boss of you. I'm not the boss of anybody anymore. My kids are grown. My husband is his own man. And, well, my dog. No, he's more like the boss of me, to be truthful. But, you know, we all have our jobs. I am her boss. That's it. Just her boss. All right. I think this is good. And I think we can start slapping on the matte medium. And for that, I am going to use a big, thick brush. I'm not concerned about what size it is. Not really concerned about much of anything. It's just a thick brush. I'm using Liquitex Matte Medium as my base. Now, Createx has a medium called 4030 that would help promote adhesion, but I use that when I use the airbrush. I use that as an additive to all of my airbrush paint. So when I put a couple drops of paint in my airbrush, in that little hopper thing, I add a couple drops of that 4030 too. That stuff is amazing. Amazing. Love it. And I might still use that on her. Like throw down a base coat with the airbrush with that 4030 in it so that I know I got good coverage, and go from there. She has an open mouth. We could either go zombie or vampire. I think I'd prefer zombie only because of that gluey spot on her head. So, and you guys can see that I am not like being very careful with this, but I'm getting full coverage. It's a very thin coat. You do not want to goop this on. If you goop on the matte medium, if it's too thick and it pools, what'll happen is it will peel off. It'll create a skin and it'll peel off, and you've wasted nothing but time and materials. So make it thin. And plus this way too, it dries faster. I mean, this will be dry in no time. So keep that in mind. Move that paper towel. And you can see I'm dipping right out of the bottle. If I were using a color with this, obviously I wouldn't dip straight out of the bottle. But because I'm just using straight matte medium, dip out of the bottle. It don't hurt nothing. Unless you're funny that way, then you can, and I don't mean funny like, oh, you're funny, oh, something wrong with you. But if it bothers you to dip out of the bottle, and I know a lot of weird things bother me, but whatever, then pour it into a bowl and use a bowl. Pour it onto a plate lined with aluminum foil. Use that. Do whatever makes you happy. If it tickles your pickle and doesn't hurt anybody else in the process, you go for it, sweetheart. It's when you start hurting other people with choices that you make. That's when, I freely admit, that's when I start judging. I say I don't judge, but let's be realistic. If you're a jerk, people are judging. Right? So, I think that's pretty universal too. I got some new inks from Liquitex. I didn't get them from, like, I bought some new Liquitex inks. And I do not know why I haven't had them. I have the pink colors. Burnt Umber, Raw Sienna, and, well, Burnt Umber, Raw Sienna. What's the third one? There's three. Burnt Sienna. Not that one. Raw Sienna. Burnt Umber. Yeah. Anyway, I got those. I used a coupon at Michael's. They're $17.99, and then I used the 40% off coupon because they look very closely a lot like the Tim Holtz Distress Inks sprays. And the ones that are called like Old Linen, Old Photograph, something, I don't know. But they look a lot like that. And I thought, well, with those inks, you can put those through your airbrush. And you only need a drop or two. They're very, very, very pigmented and very, what's the word I'm looking for, you guys? I hate when I get a brain fart like that. Oh my gosh, I hate that. Concentrated. They're very concentrated. If I could concentrate, maybe I could not forget my words. Anyway, right now I'm doing the face. Let me tip you down a little bit more so you can see maybe. I'm doing the face. Try to be wary of painting the eyes. We don't want to paint the eyes just yet. I don't know what they're going to end up looking like, but right now I don't want to paint them. But anyway, these inks are very concentrated, and when you can get them at Michael's for like, I don't remember if it's $5.99 a bottle or $6.99 a bottle. I think it's $5.99 a bottle because I figured the 3 bottles together, you're not saving anything by buying the 3-pack. So it's about 18 bucks for 3. Anyway, I got them and I brought them home and I tried them. I am in love with those colors of ink. They're transparent and I just love them. They're so rich and pretty. I mean, like I said, of course I have those in paint, actual paint, because doing these dolls, you use a lot of colors like that. So, you know, I've always had the paint. I never thought to buy the ink. But man, kicking myself because it sure would have made a lot of things a lot easier over the years. I also couldn't help myself and I bought a really beautiful shimmery gold ink. I don't know what the heck I'm going to use it for. Maybe I'll just use it to actually write calligraphy with it because I do that as well. But man, is it pretty. It is so shimmery. I'll show you as soon as I'm done getting this coat on this little girl. See that? Let me see if I could pull some of that off. Yeah. I have to sweep in here when I'm all done. My trash can is behind me over on that side, over there. So I can't reach it with this hand while I'm doing something. I need to rectify that. Maybe put it like right here. But really, there's no room. Tell you what, my next house is going to have a craft room that's going to be like 90% of the house. Because, you know, the bedroom is, it's nice to have a nice sized bedroom, but really, I mean, aside from, you know, that being where all the magic happens, you don't really do a whole lot in there except sleep. You don't need a lot of space. And especially if your kids are grown and moved out, you don't even need it for your, you know, you don't need it for your timeout space when you're a mom. So, I just have extra on my brush and I'm just gonna brush it back on. It don't matter how many coats you put on. 2 is preferable. So let the first coat dry completely and then slather on a second very thin coat. And I cannot stress how that enough. Very thin coats. Or you'll regret it. And then once I get this all done, I am going to leave this little girl to dry, at least for a couple hours. Maybe I'll come back and add more to the video or make another video, you know, on how we get started. But I will also include you in the airbrushing, as long as you promise to keep in mind that I am by no means an expert airbrush artist. Not even close. I still make mistakes. My airbrushes are the crappiest that Amazon carries, I think. But I bought the whole kit: compressor, 3 airbrushes, and you know, it's like a starter kit. It didn't come with paint, but it came with the compressor and three airbrushes for like $100 off of Amazon. And it's a master kit. The airbrushes are not the best quality, but they work. And I have said before, and I will say it again, and I tell my kids this all the time: it's a poor artist that blames their brush. If you can't get the look that you're going for using what you have available, there is a fault with your skills, not your equipment. Now, that is to say, if I'm trying to use this brush to paint fine lines, the skill does, or the deficit does lie with me, because that would be stupid, and I would be stupid for trying that. You know what I mean? But it just takes a little bit longer to get the look that you're going for with these airbrushes, because they are not the best quality. So you have to kind of go a little slower. You know, I may have to go over things twice. I have done that before. I create more work for myself, but I love the way it looks. When it's done, I love the way the airbrush finish looks for skin. So we're going to try it. And I'm going to bring you with me. I'm going to at least start. And if it's looking like I am screwing the pooch with it, I'll just finish it off camera. Because ain't nobody got time for that. You don't want to watch an hour of me fiddling and screwing around with something that it's obvious I don't know what I'm doing. You know? So, let's see here. I think she looks pretty good. And my husband called me a couple minutes ago, and my honey is on his way home. So I have to get his dinner going. So I'll leave her to dry until I get his dinner done, sit and visit with him, see how his day went. They sent him all the way out into Canada today, and well, the weather here is not the greatest, so sorry you guys, I'm not trying to keep her out of your sight. All I'm doing is wiping off the excess matte medium off of my brush. Oh, them hairs. Alright, that's it. Now she is going to sit here and she is going to think about drying. I don't want her to be touching skin to skin. Put my matte medium away. And you guys, the reason I have the gloves on is because the alcohol is so drying to your skin. So you can choose to wear gloves or not. It's not going to hurt you unless you have a cut. But let me tell you something. If you have a cut or a hangnail or anything like that on your skin, the alcohol will find it. You will regret not wearing gloves. Plus a bonus, if you put lotion on your hands and then put the gloves on, the lotion works really good while you're working. So, you know, there's that. Win-win, right? So, all right. For right now, we're done. I have to let her dry, and I will probably be back later on. I'm picking the hairs off of her because I'm seeing stupid little hairs sticking to her. I'll be back later on with the first coat of, maybe the first airbrush coat. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I'm looking at her right now, and you know, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out what happens. I'm either going to use the watercolor pencils on her, or I'm going to use the airbrush on her. One of those two things is going to happen to create the skin texture that I want. And then I have to figure out a good zombie flesh color that's not the normal green. I don't want to go with the typical green. So I'm going to do some research and see what I can find. So thank you for joining me. If I don't see you in a little bit, if I see you in a little bit, then I'll see you in a little bit. I don't know. All right. Bye-bye. Hi, guys. I'm back. Okay. She's all dry. Cindy is all dry. And I am ready to get started on her. I've got the airbrush already set up. I have the compressor plugged in and ready to go. Pretty sure it's at the right air pressure. I just have to turn it on. And I have to check my air pressure. It's a little high. So I gotta turn it down. Okay. Because when I'm doing the detail work for the skin, I like to start with a really, really low air pressure so I can get a finer detail line. I'm using this airbrush gun. Like I said, it is a master airbrush. I got it off of Amazon. The compressor is a nice little compressor. So it's, in my opinion, well worth the money, even if the brushes are not the very best. I will get a better brush in the future. I'm just in no big huge hurry to do it. You know, it is what it is. Okay, for the detail, because we're doing zombie, I want to do the veining and stuff underneath in like a dark blue and maybe an olive green, and then do almost a gray flesh color over top. So that's that's the plan. And I think I want to start with the olive green. And what I'm using is FW ink. This is called Olive Green, funny enough, by FW ink. And I'm going to add some of my Createx reducer and Createx 4030 to it so that I don't use up all my ink. The reducer is a nice way to extend your stuff. I'm going to put my gloves on because I don't need green up under my nails. That's just, this ink is serious business. When it gets on you, it stays for a little while. Well, put the glove on the right way, and I bet get further. I don't know if this doll will sit in the stand. Let's see. It'd be a lot easier. I don't even know if this doll is, I think she's vinyl. Hang on a minute. I gotta see if she's vinyl. I need something to metal to bang on it. Vinyl. She's vinyl. Okay. There we go. I have her in a stand, and I am going to start on the legs first. I'm going to turn you around so that you can get a general idea of what I'm doing. And the way this works, now there's a million videos on YouTube about how to airbrush. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just telling you this is how I'm going to get the look that I want. Do not take lessons from me on airbrushing. Find a reputable, like West Coast Airbrush, Createx even. Go to their website, their YouTube page, and definitely learn from people who know what they're doing. Please. Okay, so I put in 3 drops of the FW ink. This is reducer. I've put it in a smaller bottle because the big bottle is too big to comfortably work for me. So I'm putting, and I'm spilling it everywhere because this bottle was not the very best choice. But you know, crap happens. And then the 40/30 solution, also in a smaller bottle because the big bottle is huge and I would make a mess. 4 drops of that, and that's it. Literally 4 drops. I'm going to take a toothpick and I am going to mix this right in the little cup. This is what they call a dual action airbrush. So what I can also do, and I'm going to do, is I'm going to put my finger over the tip and I'm going to hold the air down, and it's going to cause the air to bubble back inside the cup so that it mixes everything nice. I'm going to test it. Got air and color coming out, and we're going to start. Wish me luck. Let's see if I turn you around and I hold this up, maybe you can see it. And don't worry if you get a spot that's too thick, because this is not going to be our final coat, and you can always just wipe it right back off. So the trigger on these is not the very friendliest. I mean, it's almost like it's either all or nothing. So when you get an airbrush and you use it for the first time, there's lessons that you can learn online, and they're free. You just search how to learn airbrush, and lots of lessons. Okay. Okay, that's all I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to come back once I got her all done looking like that. Okay? Okay, guys. I am all done with the veining, and I put the first base coat of an ugly gray color, And you know, when I talk about my dog, how spoiled, can you see him? Right there. Right there. That's my Megatron. He's my baby. Aren't you, buddy? He's ready for me to be done and come sit with him out in the living room. He's something else. Anyway, here is our ugly baby. Let me turn this light off. Maybe that'll help. This is what we are working with. There. We've got the, I left them out so that I could show you. I used Liquitex Prussian blue hue for the blue veining, and I used the FW acrylic ink olive green for the green veining, which you really can't see too much, but it should bleed out through. And then I mixed, it's a white airbrush paint, Createx, and black Createx paint to make a gray. And I used reducer and the 40-30 in it to make it adhere well. I did end up painting its eyes because I figured, you know, it's going to need it. I mean, it's just looks like it needs it. So that's it for tonight. I'm going to let that dry completely and get nice and solid so that I don't chip it off when I go to paint more on it. So thanks for joining me. Cindy and I will be back tomorrow, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and your day tomorrow. Bye-bye.